What is up, guys? In this video, I'm gonna talk about the main downsides of the Samsung Galaxy A14. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a good phone. I'm not saying you should avoid it, but after using it for some while, there are a few things that I don't really like about it. So let's begin with the bad stuff. The first one is the size. This is a big phone and it's quite uncomfortable to handle. The first word that comes to mind when thinking about the A14 is thick. This is a thick phone. If you see it online, you might think that there's nothing wrong with it, but if you go to a store and hold it, you'll immediately understand. When you combine the boxy shape with the 9mm thickness, it almost feels like you're holding a small brick. It doesn't sit well in the hand, and oftentimes you need to use two hands. But now, let me show you something funny. I do have a case here. If you put a case on it, it becomes a monster. I ended up leaving my case at home because it was making my pocket way too bulky. The size and boxy shape are by far the biggest downsides of a Samsung A14. The A13 and A15 are much smaller, but this is a large object. The second con is the performance of this phone. While it's quite good, it's not a major upgrade from its predecessor, the A13. The screen and processor are almost the same, so there's no big step up if you choose the newer model. Both phones get the job done. Yes, the cameras are a bit better on the A14, but other than that, there is nothing new. Both have things like NFC, expandable memory, and a dual SIM tray. No big upgrade. The third con is about charging. Although the A14 comes with a nice 5000 mAh battery, it only supports 15-watt charging. It takes about 2 hours and 30 minutes for this phone to go from 0 to 100%. I know that teenagers who use their phones a lot and are always on the go might not like this slow charging. On top of that, the A14 doesn't have wireless charging, so you'll always depend on an USB-C cable. Speaking of the cable, the box doesn't include a power brick, so when it comes to power, the only good thing about this device is the large 5000 mAh battery. Everything else is not great. The fourth con is more subjective. It's about the overall design. The A14 has big bezels, which makes it look cheap. It only has a 80:2 screen-to-body ratio, which again makes you wonder why this phone is so big, leaving 20% off its front side in complete darkness. Of course, there's also the old teardrop camera cutout, so when you combine the large bezels with the size of this phone, its design doesn't make any sense. There were other things that bother me, like the fingerprint reader, which I had to turn off because it's not great and I always accidentally touch it. All in all, it is not a bad phone. By far, the biggest thing that bothers me is the size. It is massive and uncomfortable to handle, but it gets the job done. It's a reliable Samsung phone. I made a separate video about the pros of the A14 and I'll leave the link in the description below. If you want to see more things about smartphones on this channel, press that like and that subscribe button and I'll see you next time.